Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Baligian.
I wish we had better things to talk about, but the playoff chances are dwindling. Let's be honest. And unless, Mike, the Wings win all 8 games in a row to finish this season, they'll finish with less points than they had last year as well. We'll get to all that. Look at the playoff picture. Maybe we're sleeping on the Blues. Maybe tomorrow, Ovi breaks the record. Hi, man. Bunch Chris, is that it? Man Bunch Riss?
Man Bun Chris.
Man Bun Chris. All right, something like that. All right. Mike, congratulations to Sebastiano Iavasile for committing to Northwood to play hockey there. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's going to do a little business school out there and see if he can play for the Timberwolves out there in the Midland area. So pretty cool. You know, he got back from Canada about a month ago and he made up his mind. He wanted to go to school and start his adulting, Sean. So he's in for a world of hurt.
No, you know what? Congratulations. That is a really cool campus. I'm very familiar with it, having gone up there multiple times with Wayne State. It's a beautiful campus up there in Midland. Former Brighton Bulldog Cameron Duffney also heading up there as well. I love to see these high school kids move on, man. I wanted to give it. Well, obviously, if people haven't put 2 and 2 together, you're never going to believe this, but Sebastiano and Mike are related. You're never going to believe that, but they are related. It's his son, and a heck of a hockey player. Mike, congratulations. I wanted to say that publicly.
Thank you. It was pretty cool. Also, I when Sebi came and said that he had been talking to Duff, and I'm like, well, that'd be good because we see him around the rink, and we had wondered if he was going to put those skates back on and where it had happened. It looks like he is also going to be a Timberwolf. So pretty good day for Michigan high school hockey.
Mike, where are the Detroit Red Wings at right now? And I'm not just talking about this year. It would be a Detroit Tiger-esque miracle for them to make the playoffs at this point in time. You can't say that it's completely impossible. I mean, I think the Tigers proved that last year. But there are a bunch of variables that have lined up, including other teams picking up huge wins recently. I won't mention any names, but some teams picking up huge. Where are the Red Wings at right now? And Mike, I think you know what I'm saying. I'm not just talking about right now, April 2nd, 2025.
Well, the first thing is people have to be honest with themselves. As you say, some teams such as the Habs had some big wins. Now, if they would have had those big wins within the last week and a half, we would have been having this talk last week because the Wings would have been out of it with their losses. They were very fortunate that not only when they went 3-7, everybody else said, hold my beer. We're going to go 3-7 too, right? Watching that game last night, Sean, I'll pull your line. You always tell me, I don't know if you watched all of it because it's late at night and I'm sleeping. I don't know if you caught the entire game. I'm going to tell you what, I don't know why I caught the whole game. That was awful hockey. And I can get into the Blues too. They're just as bad. There's nothing going on 5-on-5 at this point right now, whether it's the effort level, that's a locker room thing. And I feel like we were talking about this at the end of last year about what might be going on in that locker room and who's giving the effort and who's not, how many passengers there are. They're hurting, Sean. They are absolutely hurting. 5-on-5, shorthanded. If they don't have the extra man, there's absolutely nothing going on in that game. And I'll take my hat off to Cam Talbot. These goalies, who we are saying are average goalies, are holding them in there.
The crazy thing about it, too, is number one, we'll get to the Blues in a second because they've won 10 games in a row. I've seen them a couple times in that stretch. They looked really good. They looked really average, but 10 wins is 10 wins. Mike, the elephant in the room, I cannot believe how poorly Dylan Larkin has looked for really since the Four Nations. Are you seeing the same things that I'm seeing? I think my radar went up when Coach McClellan called him out a few weeks back. It's everything, Mike. It really is. It's everything. And in particular, the minus player that he's become. It really it's downright frightening. I'm not going to lie to you.
And we're on the same page. So as you have many group texts going through the day, I've got group texts going through the day, and all last night it was absolutely pounding Dylan Larkin to the point of, is he even dressed? Why is he dressed? And in that same thread this morning, it was this afternoon, 2:18 this afternoon, Larkin's breakdown since the Four Nations. This was a text I just got. Since Four Nations, 19 games, 12 points and a -12. Last 6 games, 2 assists, -7. That's atrocious. And the you're starting to hear the cries of maybe he's planning for the World Championships or the Olympics. And of course, I had to call him Captain America. Stuff coming out there that he's learning a hard lesson here, but you can't avoid it. When you watch the game, it's just not happening.
No, Dave said, man, laughing last night when that happened. What the bleep? New slate this offseason with Coach and Yzerman. And then he said about Larkin looks below average. Yeah. I'm going to take you back to a year ago, right around this time. And I think you'll remember this conversation, okay? Because you and I did what not a lot of people like to do. And we actually were factual. And we actually backed up our premise with actual stats and variables and everything. But do you remember it was about a year ago at this time where we talked about Dylan Larkin, and I said I'm getting so tired of being killed for this, okay? And our mutual buddy Blake would always, why do you hate Dylan Larkin? And I would always say the same thing, okay? I'll take him on the team. I will. I like him on the team. We can talk about how much money he makes. That's a conversation we'll say for a different day. Just don't ask me to call him something that he isn't. Do you remember when we had that conversation?
We've had that conversation many a times, yes.
And do you remember what we did? We looked at all the one centers in the National Hockey League. And I almost want to do it again tonight, just on principle. And I could go down the list of all the 1Cs around the National Hockey League. And I'm going to ask you, you don't even have to be honest with me. You don't even have to be honest with Mike. You honest to God, tell me who you would take Dylan Larkin over. And I'm not, Mike, I'm not being funny. And part of the reason why I'm bringing this up, and if you want to call me a slap dick, you want to call me a hab slap, you do whatever you want. Nick Suzuki or Dylan Larkin, go. Like, right? Right? And it was funny because Nick Kyprios got a lot of shit last week. I don't know if you saw this, where he was talking about Nick Suzuki isn't a true 1C. Which, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna kill the guy for it. I disagree with him, but whatever. Okay, if Nick Suzuki isn't a true 1C, what the hell does that make Dylan Larkin?
We've had this conversation before. I think people are generous saying too. Now, let's go back a couple of months. He was earning his contract in the beginning of this season, and the way the game was going along, and I like the way he's playing. He's crashing because he's being asked to do what he can't do. And if he was just in a position, and this is where Yzerman's got to look at it and bring guys in to put him in that position where I like him at 2. Okay, fine. I like him at the 3. But that's my opinion.
Fine, whatever. Let's see. Now might be the time to trade the captain. Wow. I haven't seen many people suggest that. David, you know what? There's value there. I'm not and again, this is the strange dichotomy about Dylan Larkin, and this is why I oftentimes say people hear what the bleep they want to hear, okay? I like Dylan Larkin. Mike, do you like Dylan Larkin?
I like Dylan Larkin.
Don't ask me to call him something he's not.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it, really. That's like, I'm sorry. I think that 1C is something special. I really do. I think that 1C should be providing a lot more on both ends of the ice than what Dylan is. And that doesn't mean that I dislike him. That doesn't mean that I'm dogging him. I'm speaking factually. David said 14 all day. Jason said even Marco is outplaying him right now. What do you think about Marco, Mike? I'm intrigued to get your thoughts. I don't think you and I have talked about him.
I like it. I like him. I mean, he was falling trapped to the usual wings trap where he comes up and he's put in like a 4 or 3, so you're not going to see much. Through some injuries and stuff, he got that opportunity to move up and be on that top line. I like it. I like the spark that he has when he gets the puck, possesses the puck. He can do some things. He's moving forward. He's young. He's learning the game, but I really like where he's at.
Ray said Larkin role on the USA Four Nations is where he would be on a good team. He's just a first liner because of the Wings' lack of depth. And Ray, I think you and I were talking about this earlier. Was it you and I, Ray? I don't. If Kyprios is going to call Suzuki a not a 1C, well, what does that make Larkin, a 4C? You know, I mean, honestly, for me, and I'm incredibly biased, Mike, I openly admit it, I'm biased, okay? I'll take Nick Suzuki all day. Can I do it again? Let's just do it for the sake of an argument. Can we do this? Are you ready?
Yes.
Nathan McKinnon has 110 points right now. I'm just doing this point totals, okay? Leon Draisaitl, 105 points.
MVP.
Eichel, 93 points. Connor McDavid, 90 points. Now, that's 2 Oilers, okay? Obviously, all right? Sidney Crosby will never age, and he will never die, 81 points. Scheifele, 81 points. A guy you've heard me say this for 2 years, Christian Keller might be the most underrated player in the National Hockey League, okay? Christian Keller has 80 points with a bunch of shit around him in Utah. A guy by the name of Nick Suzuki comes in 9 with 79 points. Not to mention all his propensity for scoring overtime goals and game-winning goals. Reinhart was 76. Duchesne was 75. Point was 75. Gunsel with 74. Strome was 72. The flopper in Ottawa was 71. Hughes was 70. Aho was 69. Tavares was 69. Thomas was 69. Austin Matthews in 7 games was 68 points. Barkov with 67 points. Johnston was 67. Thompson was 66. I can keep going and going and going. And well down the list is a guy by the name of Dylan Larkin. What are we doing? Why are we having these conversations? Why do people get mad at me? Why do people get mad at you? It's really, really weird.
I don't know, Sean. It's hey hockey town, right? It's what we get this all the time. They want these guys. They see these names. They fall in love with them. They buy their jerseys and they put them on a pedestal that they don't belong.
Yep. No doubt about that. Changes the whole dynamic of the rebuild. I like Dylan, but his value will never be higher. Let me repeat what I said at the beginning of the show before I throw this at you first, Mike, because I think you and I have had not vastly different opinions, but different opinions on what is going on with the Red Wings right now. Again, it would take a miracle for them to make the playoff this year. It just would. Okay. This will be the first time in this process that they're not going to match the season total from before because they aren't winning out. More on that in a second. If you haven't looked at their schedule, you should have listened to guys like Mike and I 3 months ago when we said, hey, guys, their schedule after the Four Nations is brutal. It's awful. It's like worst by far. Mike, where is this rebuild?
We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I was in a lot better place with it. I was thinking like, hey, we can do some things this summer. You're looking at, for whatever reason, Trey Augustine not coming out. Maybe that helps us with the contract. Maybe it helps him get another year. But Sean, it's falling further behind. I don't know what they can do this summer to make a big jump. Unless you're going to lose some contracts. Like I like to, hey, if you got to get rid of a Larkin, you got to get rid of these contracts and bring some guys in. But when you're looking at, this is all centered, and I've said this, and I don't know if you agree with me or if anyone's, this is all centering around Trey Augustine being a hit, or maybe it's Sebastian Cossa, the guy that I don't even know if he exists anymore. So are fans ready for the 3-year goalie development? and that's not starting next year. That's starting another year. So that's 4 years. So now we're at what, 9-10 years? That's well behind the curve, Sean. This is way, way behind where it should be.
I've said that. And I've been more patient than a lot of people out there, only because I have to keep repeating this. These are not my words. Two different current National Hockey League general managers, not named Steve Yzerman, I might add, told me people don't get it. When you have a rebuild of that magnitude, you don't even start until you're 5 years in. So in my mind, the clock started this past October, Mike. And I think I've been consistent with that. If you'll give me that, okay? With that being said, we all have to agree with what you just said. They're behind the curve right now, period. If I know Steve doesn't like to talk in terms like that, but if somebody asked Steve that at the end of the year, I would hope he would say, yeah, we're not where we want to be at all. They're definitely behind the curve. Make no mistake about that. But I'm telling you guys, and this isn't like the Tigers magical, wait till you see this prospect, wait till you see that prospect. There are a lot of talented players that guys like Mike and I have seen that are soon going to be with this team. The problem is, and I hate to sound like a broken record, the division that they play in, A, and the fact that there are multiple teams in their own division who are doing a much better job than they are. Mike, I'm not even going to hide it anymore. Montreal is so far and ahead of Detroit right now, and considering they started in 2022, it's kind of scary how far ahead they are in terms of where they're at in the standings, and quite frankly, what they have coming up as soon as next year.
Yeah, we keep saying, you go back to our text last night, I talked about how young and scary that team is, as you know. But not only Montreal, but the two teams that are going to make the wild card, Sean, are two teams that are well ahead of where the Red Wings are, when Ottawa and Montreal. And we could talk about these 10 guys that that are on this prospect list that are going to come onto the Wings. Maybe some of these guys this year, and the promise of Max Plant, who's back at Minnesota Duluth right now, maybe a year after that. But I just don't know with the direction of this team, what are they going to do this summer? What support are they going to have? And at what point are they going to get Trey Augustine in? And I just don't know. I think this is, when I went through a few weeks ago, I went through and I gave the timeline of Tampa Bay. And I said, I think this is about where Detroit is. That was 5 years before he actually won a Stanley Cup. So they have to, we know this progression, Sean, you know this well. You make the playoffs and you lose. You have a little bit of a run, you lose, you load up on that one veteran, that one guy that you have you make the Stanley Cup, maybe there's a progress to this. They're not just going to show up one day and win the Stanley Cup. This isn't going to happen. This has got to scare the living bleep out of Red Wings fans. And I hope those that don't ever question Steve Yzerman are starting to question what the heck are we doing, Sean?
We're not even in the Ben Bishop era of the Tampa rebuild. We aren't. We're not even in the Ben Bishop era, because I'm convinced. I've said this for a couple of years. I think it will be Kosa for a couple of years until Augustine takes a job. I firmly believe that. I stand on that today. I have no problem saying that. That's an opinion, by the way. That's not. I want to make that crystal clear. So we're not even in the. This is where I have to defend Steve Yzerman, though. The one thing that he didn't get a chance to start with here in Detroit was Hedman and Stamkos.
Oh yeah.
That's the one thing that let's see. Ray said being the captain in Montreal is harder than being the captain in Detroit. Suzuki is doing what they need. Scored with 9 seconds left yesterday, and then 29 seconds into overtime. He's got 8 game-winning goals now, 25 goals, 54 assists. I mean, he's really having a year. Playoffs are a must next year. Let Sebastian play as well. It would be in their best interest if that was their starting goaltender eventually next year, Mike. Eventually.
Can I say that if that happens, I then see some things that are happening. The fact that he has been around, Sean, and I've never seen this. I don't know about you. I've never seen this when they've had this goalie that people have talked about. And he doesn't even have a start, Sean. Everybody gets a start. They come in, they let them get their teeth wet, they send them back. We see how these goalies work, and it takes a while to get them in there. It's very rare that they just take off at a young age. He's been in and around and called up, and he has only sniffed the net the one time where, he gets what? He replaces a guy. So I can, if they actually starting him, and we can see that progression into him being the Ben Bishop before the Vasilevsky, I'll start to get back on. But I am falling off this train real fast.
Isn't it funny, Mike, how let's be honest, you and I grew up in an era where if a team didn't like their goaltender, they just said, we're going to throw the rookie to the wind and see what happens come playoff time. Boy, I can't imagine a scenario where you see that again. I thank God every day in the 86 playoffs they did that. Patrick Waugh had a very underwhelming regular season. Trust me, okay? Very underwhelming regular season. And all of a sudden in the playoff, it's like, what the hell happened to this guy? And we know how that worked out. He was a youngest Conn Smythe Trophy winner ever. Cam Ward came close, but wasn't able to supplant him. Let me get a read in because, boy, Mike, it's almost like you and I can just sit here and bullshit about it. Really, really kind of weird. I never thought we could do that. Hey, if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville and owned by those two guys right there with over 20 years of industry experience. That's Mike Husak on the left, Jeff Husak on the right. Jeff Husak loves him some Oilers, by the way. These guys offer you personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, you're getting ready to sell your company, you're already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 different states. Look, the investment world is a complex one, so if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with the experts. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574 or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Mike, the countdown continues. When is the record going to be broken? Because clearly Lane Hudson is going to break the rookie scoring record for defensemen, held by a guy by the name of Larry Murphy. Were you aware of that, Larry Murphy?
Yep. No, I watched the game last night, so that's how I became aware of it. I can't say that I just knew that off the top of my head.
Yeah, so he's unbelievable. I said as recent as a few weeks ago, I thought he should win the Calder, but I didn't think he would because of Celebrini. I've changed my mind, Mike. When you have a season of this magnitude and you're breaking records that have stood for 45 years, I have a feeling that Lane Hudson is going to win the Calder Trophy.
How much consideration will the kid in Philly, Mitchoff, get?
He should.
Wyckoff.
Yeah, he should. Just wait till you see Demidov next year.
Yeah,
he's even better. There I am going slappy. We need the all draft pick decor that's cooking in the system. It's funny. Both Montreal, I'm not that familiar with Ottawa's, but both Montreal and Detroit just have a shitload of really good defensemen in the system. It's kind of weird how that works out. If Detroit had traded Sebastian and a first to Boston for Ullmark, would they be in Ottawa's position? Somebody else posed that question. My exact sentiment, Mike. No. First of all, I don't think the guy's that good. I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't think he's that good. All right. I think he's been placed on a pedestal, and especially fans here a couple weeks ago saw him when he was good. Ullmark. This team is lacking. We can all say that this team, Mike. This team is lacking. They're lacking defensively. They're lacking up front. I don't want to say they're Charmony soft, but they're soft. I don't have any problem saying it. This is a soft team. I think this team is lacking and not something that he would have fixed. One minute.
No. When I said, I question what's going on in that locker room like we did last year, and it was a little bit of a different talk last year. When I say that this year, I just don't think there's anything in that locker room. Be it grit, be it toughness, and be it skill. And I think what you're seeing, Sean, is a good hockey coach trying to get guys to do things, Sean, that they just can't do. They cannot play the game the way he needs them to play it. And I don't care who's in that. I really don't. It's just that Ullmark, whoever. It's just not going to happen. This is not a good hockey team. Watch some games. I'm watching, as we're doing this, I'm watching the Washington-Carolina game here on Ovi Watch here. The skill in this game is disgusting.
Is there another scoring mark that might be broken, Mike? I'm sorry. Another one?
Huh? What? But like the skill in these games, like watching that game last night, I wanted to pull my hair out, the little hair that I have, because it was just so bad on both ends. But just watching this game, the skill that's going on is so good.
Dave said Raymond, they would be close, but they still have Hall, Comfer, Petrie, Gustafson. Ray said Tigers, Lions, Piston rebuild going better once they got the right coach. Did they take too long to pull the plug on Lalonde and give McClellan a full year? I'm sorry. I'll say it again. I think I said it pretty early. I don't think he should have ever been hired. That was a mistake by Steve Yzerman. And I know a lot of people around the league felt that way, that he was a specialty coach. That's what somebody told me, Mike, when I was on the phone when you were over the house, those many years ago. Somebody who I trust, and I think that's exactly how it played itself out. Now, I don't know if the McClellan effect would have them much higher, but would they be better? Yeah, they'd be better. But how much higher? I don't know. You know, I still don't think David has an interesting. If Augustine does not sign with Detroit, we are screwed. Mike, I was drop dead stunned. And I know a lot of other people. I was down in Toledo last weekend, as you know, and I was around the team. And I think a lot of people, by the way, shout out to our boy Joey Larson for signing with the Islanders. Mike, you and I are going to an Islanders game. You don't know that yet, but we are going to an Islanders game, which is really cool. Joey, really proud of you. Way to represent. It wouldn't be the first time I have lunch with your coach. Just let him know that his old buddy Sean in Detroit's going to ask him for lunch again. But no, Mike, all jokes aside, it was a foregone conclusion. It was, I mean, that's usually the way it goes. A guy gets a couple of years. All right, we're going to bring Sebastian up. Well, we'll see what he can do in the AHL. He said he wanted to stay, and the Red Wings were cool with it, and that's that. I was shocked, although I haven't seen it yet. The word is Jacob Fowler's going to sign with Montreal. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. I mean, maybe in the time that we've been on, he signed, but Jacob Fowler was going to sign with Montreal. He got his 2 years in at BC. I honestly, my jaw dropped. I thought for sure that was Trey Augustine's last time in the Spartan uniform.
Yeah, and when we saw the backup goalie hit the portal is when we started talking about what's going on here, and then the next thing you know, he stays. We had this conversation. We've been talking about this, that this was going to be the year. Now, what changes when you lose in the first round in a shocker of a third period in the NCAA tournament? I don't know how much that played into it, but again, like I said, it's another year, because it really is hinging on this kid. And if he is what we think he's going to be, you're going to hold on to that entry-level contract as long as you can. And so by him staying and developing another year in that program and not being in Grand Rapids, ticking away with his contract, gives us a little bit of a break and gives Steve another year to see if he can actually make up for the summer he had last year.
Skydog said, good thing we got our 4. Why? Because 2008 will prove to be the last time I saw a Stanley Cup champion in Detroit, especially as long as cheapskate Chris owns the team. There's 2 things to that. Number one, I cannot believe that was 17 years ago. I cannot, like, Mike, and I vividly remember watching the first round with you in your basement against Nashville, and you and I looking at each other and going, they're going to lose this series. And then if you remember, they yanked Hasek and put in Osgood, and everything changed. So that's number one. And number 2, I cannot believe that the Red Wings have the second longest non-playoff streak in the National Hockey League. That's unbelievable to me. After all that success from 90-91 all the way to 2016, I cannot believe it's the Buffalo Sabres number 1 and Detroit Red Wings number 2. I mean, it really is amazing.
Yeah, the fact when you said that 17 years, it kind of hit me. You don't think about it being that long. It doesn't seem that long ago. And it's just how things have changed, where now you're expecting playoffs out of everybody but the Wings.
Yeah. It's
That
weird.
is nuts. That is nuts.
Hey, when it comes time to getting yourself a house, whether you're buying, selling, oftentimes both, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend? This lady right there, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you will ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business. And when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, even first-time buyer, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Want to remind you, yes, we are going to have our playoff parties. Mike, I'm still not counting the Habs in, by the way. You need to know that. I'm not counting them in with the Rangers on their tail and Columbus on their tail. I'm still not counting them in. But we will have, I think the first Saturday the playoff action starts, unless the Habs start. Nobody's allowed over my house when the Habs are playing. We will have the once a week thing, and then during the Stanley Cup Finals, we'll go every night we can. I think we missed one in the final last year, but we had some incredible feasts. And Mike and I, as recent as 2 days ago, were already talking about feasts and having another vaunted sausage fest night.
Is it bad that, like, if we go back at our text history, it's just all sausage?
It's unbelievable. Like, really, I had to go downstairs. I'm such a loser. I had to go downstairs on Monday because I picked something up from the store, and I had to report to Mike all the different sausage that I have in the house. And then I picked up even more too. So, but you know what, Mike, we're gonna do it. We'll do a bunch of stuff. We'll do the shrimp and andouille or chorizo thing. We'll do the butts. We'll do the beef short ribs. We'll do it up, and we invite you to watch hockey with us and chat about hockey. David said, Shovel Day, bring them in. LaForest, bring them in. It didn't work well then, and it definitely does not work well now. Our buddy Tom in London, Ontario said D is old and slow. David said, we got no prime players. I want to get back to that. Can we get back to that in a second? Because I don't know if you and I had this conversation, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Adam said goalies can only do so much. Look at the Rangers. They are so Charmany soft. I'm sorry. I know a guy that said it a year ago, and they proved it in the playoff, and they proved it all year. They are Charmany soft. There's Maple Leafs soft, and then there's Rangers soft. Both are soft, but the Rangers are next level soft. Buffalo has better young talent if they ever get their shit together. Ray, it's amazing. Buffalo, I don't get it. Really, I'm with you. If there's something in the water there, man, I don't get it. Bedard reports he wants out of Chicago. If you had to pick throwing money at Marner or trade for Bedard, I take Bedard off. Thank you. Ray said, did you ever think you would hear Penn State and Western Michigan in the Frozen Four and Michigan State at home? Michigan didn't even make the tournament. That's the crazy thing about it. If you followed this year, both those teams, Mike, not shocking. Western's been one of the best teams all year, and there's nothing fancy about them. And Penn State was a team. I said this on Jack Ebling's show before the Big Ten tournament started. I said nobody should want to play Penn State. They got on one of those heaters and just kept winning, man. And you don't want to play a team like that.
Yeah, Maine learned that lesson, right? Western Michigan, Sean, they really remind me of like the state team of last year, where there was a lot of work, a lot of grit, a lot of work around the boards and in the dirty areas, and then they just end up winning games. And that's what you saw in that first round overtime win, where they just grind it out.
Hold on a second. Hubie's texting us during the show, so I just wanted to.
What does he see?
Yeah, hold on a second. Mike, I want to ask you about the Blues. They've won 10 straight.
Okay.
It's Toronto's year. I know, Adam. I know. We'll all move on. The Blues have won 10 straight. And when you watch the Blues play, I'll use last night as an example. I watched them smoke the Habs last week. A very hot Habs team, I might add, at the time. I watched them smoke the Habs last week. I've seen them quite a few times because, unlike you, I stay up too late. These bags under my eyes can attest to that. This is one of those things, Mike. I'm looking at this team right now saying, I don't know how they've done it, but they've done it. 10 straight wins is 10 straight wins.
It is. And I was talking to someone at work today, and I said what I'll give them credit for and what they did, what the Wings didn't and other teams didn't do in that same stretch is they won the games you're supposed to win. There's not a team on that list that, besides Colorado, that really scares you on that. But you are right. 10 wins is 10 wins. $20 is $20. I get it, but watch that game. There's nothing there. There's nothing that scares me. They're going to get swept in the first round. I don't care what anybody says. I'm putting my money on it. It's a bad hockey team, but what they do is they beat bad teams. So I was just going to try to take a look. They got Colorado, Winnipeg, Edmonton. There's nothing even to end the season. They may not even end up in the position there because they're going to be bad hockey teams. They play well. That's what I'm going to leave it at. They play well. They're playing well for their coach, a guy that got fired and is going to be in the running for coach of the year.
It's amazing. It really is. It's absolutely amazing. Again, getting the most out of a team. By the way, a former Western Michigan Bronco just texted me. I think you're familiar with his work, a goaltender by the name of Dave Mitchell. So he's pretty excited about his Western Michigan Broncos. Let me see. I want to get to some of these comments. Never want to disrespect. Hold on a second. You guys take the time. Mike said, go Broncos. Let's go. College hockey needs to be on TV more and the place where you can find it. Ray said, Toronto will go on an Edmonton run this year. Matthews will carry us because this year we have the better D, better goalie, and the right coach. The one thing is, Ray, I haven't heard that before. Out of Maple Leaf fans, Mike, have you ever heard that out of Maple Leaf fans? I've never heard that before. Never. You know? No?
Yeah. Well, that's gonna you know what it would you don't want to see it. I know you don't want to see it, but it's one of those things that might be good for hockey. I just until they what do they got to win a series. It's too. I mean, until we can even do this, right? Until we can even have this conversation.
They have one series win in 21 years. I didn't make that up. That's a real, Mike, that's a real thing. One series win. One. This group, this much ballyhooed group, which I'm going to be honest, 5 years ago, if you would have told me that this team collectively would only have one playoff series win, I would have laughed at you. I would have said, look, I have fun with the Maple Leafs as much as anybody. You're out of your mind. These guys are going to win more than that. They have this ballyhooed core four has a playoff series win. Okay. Ted said, good evening, fellas. Eric chiming in from work. Appreciate that. Colorado, Dallas in the first round is what's wrong with the playoff system. That's a great point, Ray. That's a great point. That's a great point, dude. That's a great point.
It's a great point, but when you have that many good teams, there's only a couple of bad teams in there. You're going to have matchups like that all over, right? I mean, you could switch a couple teams here and there, but they've got to play somebody. I mean, come on.
I love the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Mike, I say it all the time. When we were kids, the first round of the playoffs were awful. It was so uneventful. It really, really was. Few and far between did we see the massive upsets. More often than not, we saw series wins after 4 or 5 games and every first round of the playoffs is magical now. I absolutely love it.
So that goes against what he's saying there. Like that's so. This is what's right with the playoffs. Right? You're gonna have to play someone. You're gonna have to beat someone. Looking at the East right now, Caps, Habs, Canes, Devs, Leafs, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, Florida. I'll take every one of those series.
Yep.
Like it's really working itself out, and that's not fair to anyone. I mean, the Caps are going to be the number 1 seed, and they're going to play one of the hottest teams in the NHL. Coming in is going to be the Habs, right? A young, spunky team. Have you seen that before?
No. Another playoff with 2 goalies. Adam, my heart breaks for you. Carolina up 3-0 on Ovi and the Caps. There's another team. How many times have we said this the past few years? If Carolina had a goaltender, my gosh, their inability to get a goaltender, develop a goaltender, has been unbelievable. By the way,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, Ted, I'm keeping an eye on what's going on with your Saginaw Spirit. That series is 2-1. Saginaw with a huge win in overtime the other night after giving up 17 goals the first 2 games. Mike, did you see that? Erie put up 8 and 9 in the first 2 games of that series. Jeez, oh, Pete, man. Unbelievable. All right, I got to do a read. Hey, did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right question to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you. And yep, help save you some money. Don't we all want to do a little bit of that? Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. Enter our friends at Legacy Partners. What are you waiting for? Give them a chance to help with your home, your car, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today at 586-209-4106 or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Mike, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about Ovi Watch. All jokes aside, that is the scoring record that I was joking about earlier when I very biasly brought up the tremendous season that Lane Hudson is having. I'm going to say it again. I didn't think we were going to have this conversation. I didn't think we were going to have it a year ago. I didn't think we were going to have it when he busted his leg this year. Here we are having this conversation, and I'm convinced he's going to finish this before the end of the year.
Yeah, I watched the game last night and watching the game here. It's just something, the feel about the game. He's always around it. Guys are looking for him to do it. When he played the last 2.5 minutes last night, he was not coming off the ice once the goalie was pulled. This guy doesn't care if he scores empty netters or with the goalie in. He just missed the empty net, costing somebody you're talking to some money. I had him to score the last goal last night, thinking he would get that empty netter. But watching the game, I said he's just around it more than usual. Like there's something special going on. And if I'll be shocked, actually. Before we were shocked if it did happen, especially with the broken leg. I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen.
Yep. By the way, I love this. It's a bad memory for me, but Tom said Canes haven't had a goaltender since Cam Ward. Do you remember the year they won the Cup? Martin Gerber started the playoff, and Martin Gerber had a really good year. And of course, it was the Habs that lit him up in the first couple games, and then they switched goaltenders, put a 20-year-old in, and the rest is history. They went on to win the Stanley Cup. Go Habs, go! Ray said, thank you, Chris. Ray said, which channel will you guys be watching the playoffs on? Sportsnet, TNT, or ESPN? It depends which game is on which channel for me. As a Habs fan, if the Habs are lucky enough to be in it, it'll be Sportsnet. Obviously it's where you can find the game. Mike, I used to get so wrapped up in that. I think you did as well. I just don't think it's that big of a deal anymore because quite frankly, I don't like most of the intermission shows anymore. I don't watch much of them anymore.
Yeah, and I don't have the game on too loud. I'm watching the game, and like you said, Sean, if I can get a game on the game I want, I'm just watching it whatever channel, and I'm just happy that it's not when we were kids and we just didn't have it. We've told the story many times where I used to drive around from bar to bar trying to find someone that had a satellite that would pick up a playoff game if we wanted to watch a random Devils game on a Sunday afternoon in the playoffs.
Yep. No doubt. And that's the way it was. I mean, younger generation doesn't do that. And God forbid they had the Habs and the Leafs on the same night. It was like, well, where am I going to find the Habs game? Because, as they would always say, for Quebec East, the Montreal Canadiens, for Ontario West, all the way up to of Manitoba, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's what you had to deal with, because unfortunately, you don't get the center ice package during the playoff. And that kind of sucks, Ted said Saginaw was without their normal third line in game 1 and 2 due to injury and a suspension. Suspended player. One of the injured players came back last night for game 3. Huge factor. Wasn't it, Ted, weren't they down 8-0 in game 1 too? Before they at least made it 8-5. I think it was 8-0 at one point in time. Ray asked, you think the NHL wants Ovi to break it this year so they don't get lost next season during football season? I would think so, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're banking on it. I think everyone's really banking on it. I think everyone's going to be shocked if it doesn't happen.
Yep. I look at the coach. Hey, boys, CBC had Leafs for Ontario always. I remember my family had to watch the Habs playoff games on the French CBC. I know a guy that did that. Mike, you know a guy that did that. Do you remember I would turn on channel 54 and I'd sit there with the damn and get I'd have to get a brand new aluminum foil every time you'd go like this. And it was like watching the dirty channels, like when On TV came on. Movie. Like they seriously, that's what I'd have to do. If the Habs and Leafs were on in the same night, that was the way it was. No doubt about that. Mike, anybody jumping out to you before we get out of here tonight? Anybody that we're overlooking or anything like that?
For what? What's that, sir?
When the playoff starts, is there somebody that we're not talking about?
I think that the team that is going to be sneaky is going. I said it last time when I said A, it's going to come out of Florida in the East, and B, in the West, it's going to be Edmonton. Well-rested Connor McDavid. We've seen the last 2 nights what a well-rested MVP Draisaitl can do, scoring goals and leading that team to victories. I think that team's just sitting there under the radar. They're going to beat my Kings again in the first round, and it's going to make me cry. But something that jumps out to me, Sean, is Tampa Bay. When will they quit it? Stop it. And I'm not mad at it because as much man love as I throw on Nathan McKinnon, my favorite player, I think, is Kucherov. I love Kucherov. I love watching him, and I love when he goes Kucherov and gets thrown out of games too. It's even better. But where Tampa has gone the last couple of weeks, they're out of their mind. Florida's going to be in trouble in that first round if they don't get their crap together and don't get healthy.
I agree. And Mike, I'll call myself out, right? I thought earlier this season, I made the comment, Tampa has begun their initial descent. Mm-hmm. They were, if you remember, I said Boston's already on their way down, and Don Sweeney knew that and blew it up. So I have no mercy for them, and I hope the Habs beat them by 7 goals tomorrow. But I mistakenly thought that Tampa had begun their initial descent, and they haven't. They're still dangerous, no doubt. Here's a great question. Let me get this. Ted said multitasking tonight. You guys on YouTube, YouTube on my phone, NHL games on the big TV, Windsor and the Sioux, game 4 on my iPad. I should have gotten over to Windsor for that. Draisaitl win the MVP over McKinnon? Yes, I think so too. And
it will be a crime if they give it to Hellebuck. Yeah. He's got his award. He's won his award. He is not the MVP. Leon Draisaitl is the MVP.
Who wins the Calder, Mike?
I'm going to tell you what, Sean. I wrote down because I didn't know if we would get into it or not. But games like last night with the Habs become so much easier with Elaine Hudson, and he's a rookie. But the way he could skate the puck, I mean, you talk about when he's Cal McCarr. I mean, he is on that level. This is where we saw those guys. They're rookie. He's rookie of the year.
It's not even close.
I don't think it's even close. Now, whether they want to give it to a defenseman or not, or whether they is another question. But I've watched the games. I've seen Celebrini. The kid in Philly has got something special. But Lane Hudson runs that team.
How about his response after they fired Torts? He pumped 2 goals almost immediately on the Habs. And I'm like, you sons of bitches. And you had to do it today, didn't you? It's like they took the chains off the kid,
As soon as Suzuki scored last night to tie the game, I went to my phone because during the playoffs, if a game goes to overtime, DraftKings will offer who will score the overtime goal. And I bet at every game. I'll take one on each side. I'll play that game, right? So I ran, I was going to put it on Lane Hudson. I'm like, that kid's just made for 3-on-3 hockey. I mean, the way he skates is unbelievable.
His brother, Mike, honestly, seeing it in person, like Cole, two guys that played for the NTDP, but seeing it at that college level was unbelievable. Like I'm not even, it was unfair when he turned it on. When he turned it on against the Buckeyes, it really was. It was unfair. Sean, before last night, did you know he broke Chelios Montreal rookie assist record? Yes, but I also need to say this. I think it's different because Chelly was one of those guys, he got called up after the Olympics. And so not only did he have the stretch of games that season, but then he had a whole shitload of games in the playoff. So his rookie season was when he was 24 years old in 84-85. I knew that. I didn't know that he was on top of Larry Murphy like that. That's the one thing I did not know, but I knew that he was on top of Chelly. Let's see. Game 1 was scoreless after 1. Erie scored 5, then another 2 in the next 5 minutes. So it was 7-0. Saginaw got 1, and then Erie scored again. So that's the way it goes. All right, Mike, one more thing before we get out of here. All About Catering LLC, full service caterer, graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. For Rick and his great staff, customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. So don't sweat your next big event. Go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see all their menus and all their 5-star reviews. There's a couple from us in there. They've hooked us up. Give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Speaking of event, and normally I would call Rick and the gang at All About Catering, but Mike, we have to start. Okay, playoff night. What are we doing? Are we going with Sausage Fest? Are we going old school? Are we going the cheddar and chili cheese brats that we were talking about? What are we doing? We need to figure this out. There's a lot of pressure on us, Michael.
Yes, I think we have to go old school. We haven't old schooled it in a while, so I think but the sausage of choice is going to be those damn hot dogs that you've been showing me. You found the jalapeno ones that I sent you. You are such a good man. And the chili ones. And I looked at them both. They're both gluten-free. And we all agree. Me and you both agree. We're on the same page of how underrated the hot dog is. Now you throw chili cheese and jalapeno cheddar in them.
It is. I don't care what anybody says. A blackened hot dog on the grill, it deserves its place up amongst anything. I'm so serious when I say that. We both love our beef short ribs. We love our pulled pork. We love our ribs. Just that good, solid blackened hot dog, man. Are you kidding me? Just beautiful. Windsor Sioux, Game 5 in Windsor on Friday. And unfortunately, I can't go. I have my own game to broadcast. All right, Hunter, you bring the firecracker sausages, okay? Because now Hunter's the king of the firecracker.
He is.
Mike, he goes all the time now.
Hey, I'm his dealer. I got him hooked on it. Now he's going to supply us. I'm going to love it. But we've got so many games. There's so many sausages for us to put on display during those games. I think we start it with a good old traditional. Let's get some beef ribs. I'll bring a couple. You know, I do some apps.
Mike, you know what? I think I'm going to put a butt on just for old time's sake, too, because I got the 2-for-1 deal. I'll just put one on and say, let's go. Maybe put some of that Volcano Creole shit on there or something like that and just try something different, right? Remember we tried that? It was pretty good.
Yes.
Listen, Chris, that smoked sausage, like that Kowalski smoked sausage shit is so underrated. Wings need a beef stew type of player. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. All right, Mike, anything else before we get out of here?
No. It's sad that we're not as excited as we were last year with the Red Wings possibilities.
Shh. Speak for yourself. Go ahead.
But you didn't let me finish. But
sorry, pal.
If you are a fan of the NHL, we've got ourselves an ending that I think is going to be a little bit more in view when we meet next week.
All right, good. Looking forward to it. Mike, I'm sure I'll see you soon. Todd, thank you. Thanks to all you guys as well. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Hockey's the best. Bye.
What the Puck with Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Always Pushing Forward by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.